The border blame game leaving thousands of children on the losing end, families and a nation divided in a raging immigration battle. Good evening. I'm John McKay.
I'm Cynthia Izaguirre. This is all about children taken from parents, imprisoned in warehouses and tent cities in McAllen, Brownsville, and Tornillo, which is outside of El Paso. News 8's Jason Whiteley live in Tornillo tonight, which is home to that tent city. Jason, how is the Trump administration defending this policy tonight?
It's really on the defensive, Cynthia and John. Right now, we're actually in El Paso, not too far from Tornillo, but there is talk right now of drastically increasing the number of children who are held out here in West Texas, separated from their families. It's about 80 miles east of here is where the city of Tornillo is, and that's where a tent city is holding close to 400 children out there right now. But Congressman Will Hurd, a Republican from out here in West Texas, says this camp might grow to 4,000 children. It's Health and Human Services that runs this facility, and President Trump, as you likely know by now, he is enforcing zero tolerance at the international border. Anyone caught coming in illegally across the border will be criminally prosecuted, and if that man or woman has a child with them, that child will be taken away. So this policy now is very political. First Lady Melania Trump over the weekend critical of it. So was Dallas resident and former First Lady Laura Bush as well. This afternoon, though, Cynthia, as you mentioned, the Trump administration really coming out defending its policy once again from both the Department of Homeland Security and from the White House. Take a listen.
The narratives we don't see are the narratives of the crime, of the opioids, of the smugglers, of people who are killed by gang members.
There have been a number of individuals that are permanently separated from their families due to the illegal aliens that have come across this border and murdered and killed American citizens. Where is the outrage over that separation?
Tonight, we know the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol is now turning away asylum seekers at the international bridge behind us here in El Paso, telling those people to return to Mexico or the country they came in from. Congress is said to be considering legislation that would end this practice, or at least address this practice of separating children from their parents. What that might eventually look like, how long it might take, though, that remains uncertain. Still, though, 2,000 miles away here in West Texas, in El Paso, not too far from Tornillo, the case of these families coming in looking for safety, looking for opportunity, that very much remains a desperate situation right now. Reporting live in El Paso, Jason Whiteley, Channel 8 News.
All right, Jason, thank you. Attorney General Jeff Sessions announced the zero tolerance policy in early April. It means anyone who enters the U.S. illegally faces criminal prosecution. He claimed the rule means children can't stay with their parents because they are not charged with a crime.